Coming up next, I'm going to tell you how to overcome your fear of failure, and then Americans are willing to take pay cuts just to keep working from home. We'll discuss that and take your calls, and it all starts right now. All right, welcome to the Ken Coleman Show. We're coming to you live from our Ramsey Solutions studios in Nashville, and you've joined a conversation about you and your purpose, specifically your professional purpose. It's based on this premise. You were created to fill a unique role. You were needed. You must do it. Too many people around this globe think of work as something they do to live. Just brings in the paycheck. That takes care of the basics. Maybe I can make enough to make some memories, have some hobbies. You get it. As opposed to looking at work as something that you were actually created to do. It's why every human being at some point in their life will lay awake at night and ask, why am I here? What should I do with my life? There's a soul inside of us that longs to contribute, and that's the purpose tied to your profession. You were created to fill a unique role in your work. You were needed, and you must do it. There is a duty for you to show up and be the best version of you because somebody else needs what you have to offer. And here's how you figure it out. You got to get clear, which is stage 1 of my 7 stages to doing what you were born to do. And you get clear by discovering what you do best, that's your talent, the work you love to do, that's passion, and the results that you want to contribute to the world, that's mission. When talent, passion, and mission are in alignment, it'll point you to the marketplace, to the world at work, where there are multiple paths that will give you significance that brings along success and satisfaction. 844-747-2577 is the phone number to join in. I want to say a quick shout out to everybody watching live just after 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. For those of you that are watching later, hello. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy the show. Subscribe and share. Please. We're growing. We're catching on here in this wild wonderland called YouTube with a whole bunch of nonsense. But this message makes sense to everybody, no matter who you are, where you're from, what you believe, or how you vote. 844-747-2577 is the number. Okay, I want to take on what is easily top 3 fear for every human being on the planet. And it's a fear of failure. Fear of making mistakes. There's no removing this fear. Now you can overcome it. And I'm going to give you 2 things that will allow you to begin to build the tough skin, the courage necessary to step into failure. My good friend John Maxwell wrote a brilliant book on this many, many years ago called Failing Forward. The idea that, hey, I'm going to embrace failure, step through it, and come out better on the other side. So I want to give you 2 thoughts that I think is really going to encourage those of you who are worried about failing or have failed on the journey to being who you're created to be. Simple. And by the way, there's some great parenting stuff here as well. And honestly, if you're a parent and you're taking this message personally today, I'm super happy for you because this comes from my own journey of stepping out into the abyss and moving towards broadcasting at the age of 33 with no degree and no qualifications. But I can tell you that if we teach this in the home, this will help so many more people on their path to purpose. Here it is, 2 things. Assume some failure. Now, let's just start off, okay? Now, none of this stuff that I share, by the way, is groundbreaking stuff, but you would be surprised at how often we need to remind ourselves of this stuff. So here's the deal. Number 1, if you want to learn how to deal with failure, you must first assume some failure. Now, the key word in that sentence, by the way, is some. I didn't say assume that you will be a failure. That's gripping a lot of you right now. And that's a lie from the pit of hell. But if you assume some failure, now you have got the proper mindset. I am going to fail. Everybody say it with me together. I am going to fail. Like, honestly, around the dinner table, one of the things we did for years with my kids when they were in middle school is I'd say, hey, what'd you fail at today? And they looked at me like I was an alien. just like that guy did in the t-shirt out there. What did you do today that you failed at? Now, I'm going to catch you up, sir, because you're going, I don't understand that. But hang on. It wasn't because I wanted them to wallow in their failure. I wanted them to normalize failure, because anybody with half a brain, when you begin to realize that if I'm going to do anything intentionally, whether it's riding a bike, come on. How many parents taught their kids to ride a bike and said, hey, let's go learn to ride a bike, and when I take the training wheels off, here's what's great. As soon as I get you off of the training wheels and I get you started, you have zero chance of wrecking this bike. How many parents say that? Nobody says that. Nobody says that. Why? My friend in the t-shirt, did you say that to your kids? Why didn't you? Were you being Mr. Negative when you told them that they might wreck their bike and they be careful? No, neither am I at the dinner table. Here's the point. We've got to normalize failure. There is no success without failure. Can I just say it that way? There is no success absent of failure. So we got to start out with, I'm going to transition to a new career. I'm going to launch a business. We got to say, there is going to be some failure. I got to accept some failure, but it's not catastrophic failure if we are smart and we have a plan and we take on small risk. So I've talked about this before on my show. I want to brag on my dad. So my dad taught me to ride a bike on grass. It's brilliant. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm not, by the way, criticizing any parent who's taught your kid how to ride a bike on the road. I'm just saying he taught me how to ride on the grass, and I did it with my kids too. And here's why. I knew they were going to fail. and my dad knew that I was going to fail. So what he wanted to do is mitigate the pain. If I wreck my bike on the front lawn, I might get a bruise, but I'm not going to lose a whole lot of skin. And if I ride my bike on the street, which I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, so we didn't have helmets and knee pads. Can I get an amen? I see these kids riding bikes right now, and I go, is that an NHL goalie or is that a kid? What is going on? And by the way, some of you are thinking I'm getting distracted. I'm actually not. We have become such a safety-first society because we're afraid of failure. Look, when I wrecked my bike as a kid, I stuck to the sheets for 3 nights. Because I didn't have any skin. Now we got kids all padded up. They don't have any consequences for riding their bike like a maniac. But if I rode my bike like a maniac, I came home with no skin on my leg. And guess what it told me? Hey, don't do that anymore. Who wants to turn over in the middle of the night with half the sheet stuck to your leg and it hurts? I know it's making Amanda, her stomach turn, but I'm making my point. If I'm going to learn to ride a bike, I'm also going to learn how to fall properly. Wait a second. Back to my dad's example. He taught me to ride on the grass. If I launch a business, if I pursue a new career path, I'm not going to just jump off of a cliff. So assume some failure. Plan, mitigate the risk, and then we're going to be okay. Second point, acclimate to failure. Now, it's a 50-cent word. But I like alliteration. I'm a Baptist preacher's kid, so I got to try to get alliteration every time I can. So I came up with another A word because you got to assume some failure is my first point. Second point, acclimate to failure. What do I mean? Go ahead and embrace the failure. Like, go fail on purpose. What? What are you talking about? Let me explain. It's back to the bike riding thing. Go ahead and get on the bike and wreck and embrace it and then figure out how to ride that sucker. It's that simple. So here's the deal. You're going to start a side business. Don't wait until you think everything is perfect and you don't get any bad reviews. How about you just put it out there and take the good, the bad, the ugly, and then keep moving forward. Actually put yourself in a place where you can fail quicker. Fail quicker. Just go ahead and get yourself in there. and embrace that first level of failure. You know it's not going to be good when you start, so don't put it off. Go ahead and embrace the failure and acclimate yourself to it and go, oh, okay, that first customer review, that was painful. Oh my gosh. Wait a second. Okay, I'm okay. See, we do this relationally, but we don't do it professionally. And I'll tell you where it started for me, back to the 80s. Amanda, you may remember this. Like when we were in elementary school, we would write a note I'd write a note to a little girl, a little piece of paper, and be folded up, and it would say, do you like me? And it had 2 boxes, yes or no. Well, there's the first moment where you put yourself out there for some emotional failure, but we do it. We're terrified. My palms are sweaty. What is she going to do? What, does she hate me? Is she going to say, I like you? Yes. And then what in the world do I do with that information? It's terrifying. And yet we do it relationally, but we don't do it professionally. Look, put yourself out there. If the girl checked no on the do you like me note, I failed. It was brutal. I remember. It's coming back to me right now. But guess what? I survived. We do this relationally. We don't do it professionally. Look, assume the failure, number one, acclimate to the failure. Go ahead and start failing. Not disaster, not catastrophic, not stupid, wild, crazy, things where I spend money I don't have or I waste it. No. I'm saying you got to do it. Here's a great example. When I first did radio, guess what? I had to show up on a Saturday afternoon and do my first radio show. There is no training program for radio that will ever equate to actually doing radio. There just isn't. At some point, you got to go live and you got to do it, and you have to embrace it. I'm going to fail. I'm not going to say this right. I'm not going to come in, whatever it is. But it is the act of acclimating to failure that makes us better. I go, I don't want to feel that again. So what do I got to do? So there you go. Assume some failure, acclimate yourself to failure, and here's what's going to happen. You begin to develop a muscle, and you're no longer gripped by the possibilities of failure. You begin to embrace the reality of failure, and you let it shape you and prepare you quicker. And that's the difference between successful men and women and those that never do anything. 844-747-2577 is the number. Let's go to Spokane, Washington to start off the calls today. Caitlin joins us there. Caitlin, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, Ken. How are you doing this morning?
Caitlin, I'm living the dream. What's going on?
So I have a few things to kind of tie together my issue or problem I'm trying to figure out. I recently, or back in March of 2020, I took a new job. It's a state job. With that, still being in the COVID era, I still haven't been able to get all of my training accomplished, so I can't do all of my job. So it's kind of, I've lost the drive a little bit there. And then as well, some of my upper leadership isn't the greatest. Fortunately, though, I have a great supervisor that they just hired on, and so our team is starting to look a lot better, but upper management, not so much, and it's kind of disheartening. And then the third thing to go with this job is I recently found out that I'm not getting paid on the same scale as my counterparts when I'm I'm like the second most qualified of the team, but the least paid. And so that's been another issue. I'm trying to,
You know what's going on? HR. This is so hard for you emotionally because there's all these red lights or flashing lights. Warning, or stop. It just feels like there's just so many signs here. So what's your question for me? How can I dive in and help? Because I'm seeing all kinds of signs. Are you seeing those signs?
Yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out if I should stick it out a little bit and see if it gets better, especially since one of the management, he's getting ready to retire soon. So that might. What do you think
is the reason why on the pay issue? I'm not trying to make this thing toxic for you, but I want to dig here. Why do you think that's happening?
I think they're violating a Equal Pay or Opportunities Act. There's a gender, definitely.
How do you get along with everybody in there? What's the personal interaction like?
As far as my coworkers, they're great. Even the individual that, he's opposite sex as me, I still feel he's a great mentor.
What would
and
have to
a new
change?
employee.
What would have to change for all of this to be to kind of go away and for you to go, all right, this is definitely where I need to be. This is the ladder I need to be on. Because I don't think it's the ladder you need to be on, even if some of these things changes. Is that true or false?
It's kind of a little bit of both. I would like to be obviously get paid to what I just don't feel I'm as valued right now.
Oh, I know. There's no question.
yeah.
And that's such a mental
Yeah.
block. Okay, so forget about that. If we got the pay fixed today, if I called your leader and said, hey, come on, man, pay this gal what she deserves, and we fixed that, would it still be, forget the emotional part of that. Let's assume that that's fixed. Is this still a place where you think you need to be long term? Does it get you
No,
to the next
definitely
run?
not. No,
So that's
definitely
my
not long term.
yeah. So I think you got a couple things going on. What you addressed at the beginning of your question or kind of your situation to me feels like this doesn't even present itself as the right ladder for you to keep moving, even if the other emotional stuff was addressed. That's what I'm
Right.
seeing.
Okay.
Am I seeing that clearly, or am I missing something?
No, I think you're right. I just sometimes we need somebody else to kind of tell you.
Exactly. So I think we stay for now. And,
Okay.
and I don't mind you trying to maybe get some progress in the pay thing, but I think this is a temporary move anyway. So I think
Right.
I think that's just all a bunch of unnecessary effort. I think we're staying there to keep the paycheck coming in, and we're looking for a better opportunity. That's what I think. And then we leave
Okay.
as soon as that presents itself. So yes, you should go, but I want you to go the right way.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. I just
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just don't think you can fix all this stuff. And I think, again,
No.
the only reason I would try to fix some of this stuff if you were going, this sucks, but this is the rung on the ladder I need to stay on for a while to get to the next rung. And that's not what's going on here. So I think that's a sign. I think it's time, and I'm trying to kick you out of the nest so you can fly, little bird, fly. 844-747-2577. Let's go to Brookfield, Connecticut. Kim joins us there. Kim, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, Ken. Thank you for taking my call. It is a pleasure to talk to you. I've been following you on Instagram. So, hi. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the nice words, and I'm thrilled you called. How can I help?
Okay. So, I work in talent acquisition for a large healthcare company. I've been there for almost 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been promoted twice. I work in leadership. I love my job, my team. I love my people. So recently they decided that the COVID vaccine would be required for all staff, whether you're clinical or not. I'm not a clinical provider, meaning I don't touch patients. I have a religious objection to receiving the vaccine, which I made clear to my leadership. This came out about a month ago. Well, suddenly, Ken, 2 weeks later, my boss, out of the blue, calls and says, hey, you've been doing a great job leading your team. I know times are tough, but I'd like to offer you a retention bonus. Please don't leave us, basically. And at first I was like, wow, I'm so valued. We've been going through a lot. Things are, they're starting to notice this hard work that we've done, staffing, healthcare during COVID. I was feeling so positive. And then just about 2 weeks later, the email comes out, yes, definitely everyone has to have the COVID vaccine. They've not released any exemptions, but I'm starting to become very suspicious of the timing with my retention bonus against the COVID rollout, especially that all of my leadership knows my personal and religious opinion. And I just feel like I can't be bought, but I'm not done with my job, and I have a lot of work that I want to finish. So that's why I'm calling you.
Wow. You know what? And I knew this was coming, and it's going to keep coming. So Kim, I'm going to beg your patience, and we're going to walk through this because I don't know that there's a really clear-cut answer, but I'm processing all of this at the same time. So be patient with me. I may ask you several questions back and forth, but I want to help. Okay.
Sure.
When you mentioned the religious exemption, what was the feedback? What did they say?
They said they would provide a list of exemptions at a future time.
Okay, and so now the emails come out and they've said very clearly there are no exemptions. We are not going to have any exemptions allowed.
They have not disclosed what is required for the religious exemption.
Oh, okay. So they are saying that they're going to allow it? And a religious exemption?
A religious exemption is a possibility. But when I've like pushed to say, how do I obtain it? What do I need to show or validate? It is, we don't know yet. We're not sure. We're not sure.
Okay. Then I'd sit tight on that. But I tell you, if it were me, I would also, I would do a consult with an employment lawyer, an employment attorney.
Okay.
I'm not buying that this is a cut and dry. It's cut and dry to a lot of lawmakers and media types. There's already court cases. The University of or Indiana University, whatever it is, they're requiring all employees, and it went to an appeals court, and the appeals court held it up. But I don't know where it's going to go from there. So first of all, we just don't know where any of this is headed as far as legal challenges. I don't even pay enough attention to it myself because I try to stay out of the COVID news or else my head would explode.
Agree.
So I personally, and I'm going to do my homework on behalf of the audience. I actually just decided I know a local attorney who's an employment specialist. I'm going to go do my homework. But the fact that you've asked for how do I apply for the religious exemption and they're kicking the can down the road, if I were you, I'd be really nice about it, but I would document everything and I would keep emailing and say, hey, let me know when you guys can let me know on this. But so I would document it. I wouldn't be, rusty wheel. I wouldn't keep forcing the issue, but if you haven't documented it in emails yet, I would document it. I would get their response where they're not telling you.
Okay.
And I'd print those emails off and put them in a file. That's what I would do personally. Okay.
Okay.
Have you done that yet? Have you got that documented in an electronic response where they just kick the can down the road?
No, but I think I have at least one and I will.
Yeah.
And that's really sound advice.
Yep.
And Ken, to your point earlier about consulting with an employment attorney, Connecticut, where I am and where our company is based out of, Connecticut recently said even for any public sector jobs, and I'm not sure exactly what the ruling stated, but they eliminated the religious exemption on vaccinations in school-aged children. So in this area, there is a very public sort of drive to eliminate religious exemptions. And I'm concerned just that what's happening locally, that may be informing some of this delay surrounding the religious exemption. So I hear you. I will start getting documentation of that.
Get documentation, but I would still consult an employment attorney.
Yes.
Just because everybody else says. I mean, you have the current president of the United States made a statement the other day, well documented. He just came out and said he was saying the CDC is recommending that they extend the moratorium on rent. And somebody in the media questioned him about it. He goes, it may not be legal, but I still think it makes sense. Well, you don't just get to say that. So just because your local people are saying this and the lawmakers pass some ordinance doesn't mean that it'll hold up under scrutiny. I would just do my homework if I'm you. And I'm only giving you advice to you. I'm not saying this for everybody. The other question that I have is, what kind of proof are they asking for on the vaccination?
So my healthcare company does, we vaccinate our staff, we vaccinate the community, right? They would require a vax card, right?
Okay. That's what I'm asking. I'm just curious. I'm just curious of what they were going to do on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They asked every manager to provide an assessment of who is and who is not vaccinated. Yeah. And just professionally, I didn't feel like it was right for me to go to my direct reports who I've earned their trust over the years to ask them about their health information. So I chose not to do that.
Exactly.
And I've not, submitted the request back to my manager either. Yeah.
So if it comes down to it and they say you have to do this or we're firing you, what are you going to do?
I'm going to walk. Okay. I can't let anybody buy me, right? For me, it truly is because of my faith. And for me, it's like, I sat there with my husband and I said, am I even considering this? Who is this person that would make a choice? What do you believe and what example are you setting for your kids?
Yeah. Well, there's your answer. I don't know if they're trying to buy you or not. But I would call their bluff. Since you know you're going to walk, if they force you, then this has now become a very easy decision. I'd get all the documentation so that if you try to pursue this legally, which I think you should, if they fire you over this, I hope a lot of people fight this stuff. I think it's absolutely. Now, again, let me also say that the company, as a private company, can do whatever they want to. They can come up with this policy. So because some people are going to come after me, so I don't really care. But I do think a private company, if they want to make that policy, then they can make that policy. But whether or not it's legal and it's constitutional, then that's a conversation for a later day. I'm not a constitutional scholar. And I'm not going to take an opinion on that. But your principles matter. So you've already decided I'm walking if they do this. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. So a couple of things on this in quick review. Do all the documentation that I asked you to do so that you've got stuff if you want to pursue a case. Secondly, let's call their bluff. They said they don't want you to leave. If they are trying to buy you, well, we'll find out. We're going to find out. But if they really meant what they said, please don't leave us, and you stare them down very respectfully and humbly and go, guys, I love my job. I love this team. I love this company. But it is a principle thing. I swear to you, you can call it's not politics. I'm not trying to sway you. I'm not going to take it. And here's the reason why. They don't care what your reasons are, is my guess.
Right.
And make them decide. If they love you that much, who knows what they'll do? Maybe they'll wink, wink. It's my personal opinion that any company, I'm really going to stir it up, Kim. It's my opinion that any private company that is going to force their employees, and federal government for that matter, is going to force people to take this thing, that they're doing this because they're worried about being criticized and they're trying to join the majority. And they don't care what you think. Now, that sounds harsh, but it's just true. When someone forces you to do something, they don't care what you think. Let me back up from this a second. When I tell my kids to clean their room, I don't care what they think. I'm saying clean your room or you don't go to the birthday party. You understand what I'm saying, Kim?
Amen to that.
Yeah. I tell my kids.
Yep.
I don't care. Dad, I don't think I should have to clean my room to go to the party. I don't care what you think. I'm forcing you to do it. Now, that's parenting. But let's be real and strip this down. I don't care what your position is. You have to acknowledge that when a company forces you to do something, they don't really care what your opinion is on what they're forcing you to do. So I'd call their bluff, and if they fire you over it, you've already decided that that's your principle, and I want you to plan for that professionally. I'd get a backup plan going, and I admire your principle and your courage. I admire it.
I've been in a season of just focusing on being courageous and trying to set the right example for my 6-year-old, who's very watching what mommy's doing even at work. Ken, but my other question for you is, do I just sit and wait it out? Do I see what happens?
Yes.
Or,
yeah.
I already did my resume. I did your resume tool. I've been getting all my stuff together. But do I start applying or
yes.
do I wait?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Let's say that you apply and something really awesome comes to you. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
What are we worried about?
Yeah.
I would certainly, I'd cash that bonus. I'd spend it, have some fun with it, whatever, man. If they're going to force you on this, they value their public image. They value their philosophy more than they do you. And that's okay. That's their right. Let me also say, that's their right. If they want to do that, if they want to force that, that's a private company's business. But you also have the same right to say no. I am all for freedom. I'm a libertarian when it comes to this stuff. If a company wants to do that, great. We got to stop worrying about what everybody's opinions are and do what we think is right. And if that's what the company think is right, if that's the way they're going to treat their employees and force them to do something and choose something that is against their principles in order to remain employed, I don't like it. But that's their deal.
Right.
And that's why I don't get angry if somebody doesn't get vaccinated. It doesn't anger me at all. It's your call.
Well, right. And as somebody who's, I love this company. My heart and soul is here. I have stood beside them when they made other decisions. And I said, this is the thing to do because it's the right thing for the organization, or it's the right thing for the employees, or it's just the right thing. So do it. And sometimes you just have to be quiet and you just got to do it. And I've always been that person. This is like even the first time even my leadership is seeing me in a space where I'm like, I hear you. I'm respectfully disagreeing, but I hear you. And it's a different voice than I've had before.
Yeah.
It feels kind of good, Ken.
Good. I hope I've helped. I mean, this is...
You sure have.
I'm watching the YouTube chat room right now. We got a guy named Ryan who just lost his... Ryan lost his job over the issue. Daniel P. is going through it right now. Folks, this thing has become political. I mean, people can say it's about health, but I'm not buying it. It's not about health completely. And so I'm so sorry you're going through this, but I can tell you this. If this is what happens and you stand on principle, there are plenty of opportunities out there. There are plenty of opportunities, and I'm here to help you folks. You've been kicked out of the nest because of vaccines. I've got all of the tools. I've got the talent to help you and help you get replaced and back on another path. I'm all in. And so let me just say this. If you're being forced to take a vaccine that you don't believe you should take, or you are concerned about the safety, I don't care what CNN says or what your neighbor says and tries to make you feel like some sort of a loser, dope, whatever. Do what's right. Do what's right. We live in a world right now, I'm going to tell you this, where people would rather be a part of the majority than they would do what's right. I think this is right, but everybody's going to criticize me, so I'm going to go do what everybody else is doing. This is the world we live in right now. And at some point, the fear of being criticized has got to be dealt with. You will have billion-dollar companies capitulate and change policy over 21 people saying something negative on Twitter. And you know what would be fun, Nathan? If we actually went with a camera and we documented these 21 people's lives. Who are these people? What kind of power do they have to sway billion-dollar companies over a tweet? It's fascinating to me. The fear of being criticized, by the way, comes into our path to purpose. You won't pursue the path because your mom thinks it's a silly idea. Hey, by the way, that's me too. But this fear of being criticized is unbelievable. I think it's like hopped over all the other fears that for decades and decades and decades have owned us. It's fascinating. The fear of being criticized. Wow. I can't wait. If they post this clip, I can't wait. I'm going to be lit up on social media. People will put words in my mouth that I didn't say. It's fascinating. But guess what? I sleep very soundly at night because I take a stand for what I take a stand on. And this issue is coming in here. We're going to get a lot more of these calls. So I'm going to open it up. If you're being threatened and bullied over a COVID vaccine, we'll change your name. We'll change your location, industry, everything. Amanda, I want those calls. And let's see what's out there and let's see how I can help. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, unbelievable news coming up. There's the music. I wasn't sure what was happening there. Don't move. More Ken Coleman Show coming right up.
We were drawn to Christian Healthcare Ministries because we both had young families and we wanted to have more children. And we had also just started a real estate company and needed to find healthcare coverage that would meet our needs.
We were attracted to CHM because of its low monthly costs and the ability to negotiate medical costs down.
Established in 1981 and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, CHM is here to meet the needs of your growing family or small business. Check us out at chministries.org.
We absolutely believe in it.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Ken Coleman Show. Thrilled to have you with us. 844-747-2577. For those of you that are, whether you get kicked out because of the vaccine and you didn't take it, or you're just making the transition, whatever it is, and you're on the hunt or you're going to be on the hunt, the job search can be really frustrating and full of rejection, many times just crickets. So when you apply. And we've got a lot of great resources at kencoleman.com, free resources, our resume guide. We got the resume template bundle, only $9.99. We got the how to win the interview guide, all the things. But we also have a great relationship with the number one job site in the world, and that is ZipRecruiter. If you go to ZipRecruiter.com/Ken, it'll only take you a few minutes to fill out a profile. They're the number one job site in the world because of their technology and the amount of companies they have signed up, who, by the way, are paying them to find talent. So you get ZipRecruiter service for free. When I was like, I'll endorse that all day long. I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm asking you to try it because there's zero risk, and actually, it's the best way to get hired. ZipRecruiter's candidates are 3 times as likely to get hired because they actually recruit for you. You fill out the profile at ZipRecruiter.com/Ken. They start matching you up to jobs that companies are listing. The companies see you. They contact you directly. How awesome is that? And say, we want you to apply. And did I mention that it's free? ZipRecruiter.com/Ken. All right. Let's get to our In the News. I can't even believe this. This is unbelievable. Headline from Bloomberg Wealth: Americans are willing to take pay cuts to never go into the office again. New survey shows 65% of workers said their jobs could be done entirely remotely, were willing to take a 5% reduction to stay at home. Now, I get you not wanting to go back to work. Some of you love working from home. And I've been misinterpreted, unbelievably so, because I think it's a bad career move if you're willing to just quit because of that one issue. But if you are quitting for that issue, and you can still move forward, then I say great. But just to quit for that reason alone and not have a backup plan is what I've said. I'm all for you working from home. I don't care where you work. I really don't. If you get the job done, I don't care. Go for it. But don't just up and take a step back in your career, or in this case, a step back in pay over this issue. I got to replace it is my point. I'm not just going to go, I'm taking a stand on working from home and I'll take a pay cut just because. It's got to be a part of the overall strategy as we keep moving up. That's all I'm saying. All right, now we got that clear, I think. Here's the numbers. 65% of American workers are saying, yep, we'll take a pay cut of 5%. Does that mean if it's 6% or 7% or 10%, which could be the deal, they'll take that too? At what point does that person who says, I'm willing to take a pay cut to work from home, at what point do they go, well, that's too much? Here's my point on this. You might as well just go find another job, because I think you lose any leverage that you have when you say something like this. They're going to go, oh, okay, well, let me think about this. I'll tell you what, let's hit them with a significant pay cut, because we want them in the office, but if they want to work from home, well, let's maybe decrease their responsibilities. Let's decrease their pay. How's that going to work out for you, folks, and your goals? That's just something you got to think about. Because if you got options here, there are companies that are fine with 100% remote. Go find them. But those jobs at some point, is it just endless? I don't know. Here's the data. Most people said they wouldn't give up more than 5%. So there's your number. But 15% of respondents said they'd be willing to shave off, are you ready for this? 25% of their salary to work remotely. Nearly half, 46%, said they'd give up a quarter of their days off. See, I think you got to have vacation, whether you work from home or not. It doesn't matter if you're in your sweatpants or not. If you're working all the time. 15% said they'd give up all paid time off to be able to work from home. Wow. It's just fascinating. I don't know where it's going to shake out, so I'm not going to predict, because I make a prediction, somebody makes it my opinion. No, it's not. So there you go. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me today. Before I let you go, remember this: you matter. You do have what it takes. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, this is the Ken Coleman Show. Press on.